Well, well, well. If it isn't my regretful girls. Hi, my name is Christopher Valentine, but you can call me Chris. And I talk about the things that interest me. And today, it's hindsight. More particularly, the idea of sliding doors, if you will. And for all of those girls who are too young to have had those teachers in middle school and elementary school who always had some sort of unique adage or common saying from like the 60s and 70s who would tell you what these things mean, I'm going to explain. The idea of sliding doors is just that if you look back in the past and you think about the way that certain opportunities, moments, etc., passed you by and led you down the path that you went down, you can kind of drive yourself crazy. And obviously we know that because we're the generation of crashing out on social media. Hi, welcome to my podcast. I've been thinking about this a lot. Not just recently, honestly, but in the last, let's say 3 to 5 years. Right when COVID hit, kind of here and there, and then it really ramped up after I stopped wrestling. So, yes, I know. Back up. I am a former professional wrestler, and for all intents and purposes, I am the greatest wrestler in the world, top down. Promos, ring work, storytelling, etc. But because we live in the world that we live in, I was not able to secure any opportunities worthy of my talent, and therefore wasn't able to build a platform and a career that I had worked for 7 years. But that's okay. Clearly you can see where this is heading with the sliding doors, and the hindsight is 2020. But I am going to let you know right up front, I know they give very positive, very la-la, higher power, tarot card reading, and I do read tarot cards, but anyways, that's another topic for another day. Zodiac, girly, but for all of those stereotypes that you have in your mind, I'm going to need you to expand, okay? Really look at the horizon of the human experience and all of the myriad of ways in which one can take different paths that don't lead them down becoming the exact thing that they're trying to rebel against. Most of the time, an archetype or a stereotype that's set for them. And yet, still somehow we end up following into those guidelines and gleaning some of our own characteristics from those boundaries. Anyways, I'm already going on a tangent. Let's back up. Yes, don't judge a book by its cover. Okay? I know that I am a divine feminine goddess, queen, diva, slay, blah, 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 kooky gaga, all the things. Insert this clip from a friend of mine, a straight man. He is the fiancé, about to be husband, of one of my best friends.
Yes, mama, you better work, sissy girl. Slay the house, boots down, T, the realness. Goo goo gaga, tongue pop McGee.
Love it. So good. Period. I live for that. Because that's really the essence of what I give. Self-referential, to reference or not to reference, to throw up or not throw up, to make up or... Sorry. I'm doing it again. Another reference. Even though I know the girls that get it. Lady Gaga. Look it up. Hilarious. Maybe I'll play a little clip here. But the idea that I am self-aware enough to know of the tropes and things that I play into, and yet subvert because I have a sense of self where necessary. And all of this does tie into the wrestling because as a professional wrestler, you're expected to be a caricature that is palatable to the masses. And the thing about me is I'm just that girl. So in all of the ways that I may or may not give that, I am not that. I'm multifaceted, multi-hyphenate. I give lots of different vibes. And obviously this was hard to package in a corporatized setting. Also being a brown, Dominican, hyper-feminine, all the things. And also, honestly, very cont. Very fun, very ha-ha-hee-hee on here. And in life and interpersonally. But when it comes to the business, don't fucking play in my face. Okay? When it comes to getting things done right, when it comes to my craft, whatever that be at that time, because baby, there's a list, I don't fucking play. And I expect everyone to meet me halfway. Whether that be taking the work seriously, or paying me accordingly. I did not earn that. Okay, I'm not saying I was asking for money because that's definitely not it. I definitely didn't earn that back then. So I obviously am not being bitter girl about that. But what I did earn based on my skill level, which is truly generational, once in a lifetime, once in a generation, we'll continue to say that over and over again, which all of these promoters who were of course straight white men, saw was an opportunity. You know, the chance to just go, kill it, send these people to the moon and back, immerse them in something that they've never felt before. That's what I give. And I mean, obviously I kind of am doing that right now. I know. I'm giving you the fantasy, whatever this is. Actually comment on what this, if you're watching versus listening. Actually, even if you're listening, what is the world that I give you? What is the universe that I create in your mind? And I can already see a bunch of keyboard warriors being like, annoying ass faggot bitch, which, not wrong. Okay, let me stop. Back to sliding doors, or not back, but just continuing on. With all of these different ways that I express myself and all of these different skill sets that I have and my full embrace of all the things at once, you can kind of sum that up in the word nuance. You know, being someone who's nuanced but also embraces being nuanced and challenges other people to embrace that as well is hard to package in a corporate setting, you know, to make money. Because capitalism is the death of all creativity. Hello, wake it up. Like, it's as simple as supply and demand. You know? What is it that you want? And usually it's something very specific and simple and binary. And how can I provide that? And when you're in a field that is creative but is being hampered by the lack of creativity in capitalism, or not even just that, even, let's say, acting, you know? Just being a personality in the public eye in whatever sense, because I have all 5 of my audience members. Love y'all. I'm not saying I have this huge audience, but I'm saying the audience in your head or the audience that you believe you might be marketing to per se usually wants a very specific one-note thing. And in case you haven't noticed, from the semi-vibe switch from the last episode to this one, you're going to get what you're going to get on here, okay? The vibe that it's giving is the vibe that it's going to give, and you're either with the shit or you're not. And today it's giving a little more thespian, a little more upper echelon, academia, you know? Because that's just the vibe that I'm giving today. And if this is a clear example of who I am, in the sense of embracing nuance and packaging that or trying to for an audience that may or may not be there, you can imagine that in an industry as, I'm going to say simple in its delivery as professional wrestling, it was just a whole lot, and I didn't have enough time to give what they needed to get for me to get the opportunity that I deserve to be given. You know, I really could have just hampered down and played the gay caricature that everyone and their mom wanted me to for the sake of getting screen time and then turn that into what I wanted to. But I have an issue, and that issue is identity. That issue is value system. I know what I stand for, and I have a hard line for that. And one of those things is individuality at all costs. Okay? Now, obviously, that's also a product of being young and having lots of privilege. I'm not going to give you the details on how, because no. But privileges that allow me to do so. Because the girls who just need a job and can't afford to not clip their nails and clean up their act, so to speak, for the powers that be so that they can get an opportunity at a job to make some money to survive, they obviously wouldn't be able to relate to this. And I stand with you, love you, appreciate you. But that was not my story. Okay? And it's still not my story. And I embrace that. It's also like this idea that if we are functioning in a pyramid, because capitalism is a pyramid, everything is top down and it's not anywhere near equally or equitably dispersed. And it never will be, because by nature it can't be. if this is the system that we're working in and the best that we can hope for in this specific period point in the timeline of human history is for some of those of us, lol, but stay with me, because I'm really not privileged like how I'm making it out to be. I'm just not giving you details because we're not there yet. We don't have that relationship, Tiva, so, not too much. Not too much. Don't fucking piss me off. Anyways, if those of us who are on, let's say, higher rungs of this pyramid are in the position to attempt to extend our hand and pull some people up with us when we can, if that's kind of the best we can hope for in this system, then would it not have been a complete disservice to the collective for me to give in to the gatekeepers and do as I was being asked or petitioned to do? Of course it would have. And I'll never be a basic bitch. I'm a lot of things. But basic? Never that, honey. Never that, Jiva. How does this play into the idea of looking backwards in hindsight? Because, of course, I look back so many times and for so long at those decisions to double down on my identity over potential for opportunity, because that's another thing. It wasn't guaranteed. And I think, dang, maybe I should have just clipped my nails, corporate settings. Maybe like work that is traditional, not wrestling. For wrestling, maybe I should have just been the faggy little manager with a mouth. Like, maybe if I would have, then A, B, or C would have happened. But I didn't, so instead it was D, E, and F. That's the idea of sliding doors. That because you go through one, you miss the others. And you end up wherever you end up, and perhaps you look back and think it could have been better. Could have been easier. It could have been more convenient. I could have achieved more. And honey, that's my gag. The achievement complex? Ooh, girl, you want to talk about shadow work? That was really what I was getting into when I started writing to myself. Because, by the way, I write letters to myself. I don't journal. I write letters to myself, essays to myself. I think I said myself. I mean, it is kind of giving that, multiple personalities. But I write to myself in that format every so often, and in those times, 5, 4, 3 years ago, it was a lot more consistent. And one of the biggest themes in all of my writing was, what if I would have made a decision X amount of years back? Would that have led to a better quality of life now, in the present day of whatever moment that was then, whatever the present day was at the time of the writing of the letter or the essay? And I still struggle with that. Nowhere near as much. Girl, please. But I always look back and think, what if? And then land on the typical, like, I love who I am, so I wouldn't have wanted anything to be different, because then I wouldn't be who I am or where I am. And I'm not in any sort of particularly enviable position, but I do have enough privilege and space, like esoteric space, spiritual space, to be who I am fully and not have to compromise on that. Will that change? Yeah. As one of my faves says, we're all one disaster away from a terrible life. And for me, that's definitely the case. But until then, darling, you hear that? Those are my nails. I'm gonna stay faggy downtown fag, bitch. And I'm gonna live for it. And I'm gonna make the most of it. But I do wonder, what could have been? And then that begs the question, well, what is my definition of quality of life? And what is my definition of achievement? I skipped over what I was saying earlier about writing to myself and doing shadow work. That's what I was trying to say, that I would do prompted essays, which is a really great way of getting to the nitty-gritty of your subconscious, free writing off of a prompt that is seemingly inconsequential on the surface, and then ends up spiraling into your deepest, darkest fears, facets, and emotions. And I love that, girl. But when I did that, the main thing that I had to tackle was my achievement complex. Why am I so obsessed with accomplishing whatever my idea of success is, which always includes a certain level of financial freedom, comfort, and more importantly, convenience. Similar world that those words are living in, but not the same. Financial freedom, I want to be able to do what I want to do. Anyone can relate to that. Comfort, everyone's comfort level is different. And what does that look like? Have to get into specifics. But then, what was the last one I said? Girl, that's crazy. I said financial freedom, financial comfort, and I forgot what the last one was. But the last one was basically alluding to reckless abandon. Being able to do what I want when I want with no restrictions. Almost in a reckless way. Not that I have any vices, because, again, going against many a queer stereotype, specifically for the femmes and the hyper femmes, I don't have any vices. No, I don't want to be fucking every other week. Sorry, not my vibe. Drinking, I do it socially for the vibes when I want to. Let's say every 3 to 6 weeks, sometimes months at a time. But yeah, it's not frequent enough to be a vice. And I don't go balls to the wall every time. Hookah, I have my own hookah and I'm never lighting the bitch. So what am I really talking about? Hola a todos mis dominicanos. ¿Sabes que nosotros tenemos esta maña con esa hookah? Yo no sé. Una mierda que está en nuestra sangre. But anyways. Trying to think. Yeah, food, no. I've been an athlete since I was 16 years old. Before wrestling, it was volleyball, and I thought I was going to be the world's biggest gay sports superstar via volleyball. From college, D1 into traveling teams, into the Olympic team. Yeah. As you can see, the bar is beyond. And an epiphany that I had a long time ago was that one of the reasons that I have this achievement complex is because I wanted to out-achieve my oppression. Yeah. Woo! Trigger alert! Stick with me. The girls who are like me, I need you. We must bond and connect and create a community. Because I know you see me and I see you and we feel each other right now. Clock good. And the achievement complex is really a thing. There's that whole trope of high-powered gays, even though they're usually white, but we're not going to get into the white, pasty, paper-colored individuals of it all. We're not here for that conversation today, maybe on another episode. But nevertheless, the trope exists, that we always end up in high-power positions, and we're almost like, by default, asexual because we're married to our work, and someone like La Roche comes to mind, even though it's completely authentic to him, and he has said he doesn't really care for relationships, and he feels like his relationship is to the world through his work, which is beautiful and amazing. It's obviously should not proliferate as a monolith. Like, get out of here with the bullshit. And it has. And in many ways, I have to question how, as I was talking about way earlier, see, everything ties back on this pod. We be yapping, but we also be yipping back to the front, okay? I have to question how I fall into those tropes and those expected, I want to say guidelines, what's the word? That expected behavior from the stereotype. And it's not a big stereotype, or it's not a stereotype that's at the forefront of culture. It's very much so under the surface, very much so what happens in the dark. It's subconscious. Like racism. Yeah, because institutional racism is not loud people yelling in your face that they hate black people. No. Anti-blackness, specifically, not just racism, anti-blackness, is embedded subconsciously. And we must dig into our own psyche to stomp the bitch out. But most people aren't going to do that work now, are they? Which is why it proliferates. And it's the same for these kinds of subtle, we'll say, stereotypes, where people accept it to be the truth, even if it's never a conscious conversation. And so it becomes an expectation. And for me, it just so happens to be true that I really don't have any particular vices, and because I have accepted that in the position that I am currently in this timeline, this human timeline is what I mean, you know, being born in this century, this millennia, hyper feminine men are not desirable. And the desirability versus attraction episode is going to be a whole other thing. Yes, I know that I'm objectively beautiful. I know that I have great aesthetique, that I'm nice to look at, and that there are many people who are attracted to me. You know, hence being able to have sex and whatever. Now, desirability is the difference between being attracted to someone and doing something about it. Desirability speaks to action. Ain't nobody trying to date me. Ain't nobody asking me out. Ain't nobody trying to connect with me on that kind of level. And this isn't me complaining. I'm really just giving y'all the tea. A very facts-based bitch. Just to stomp on whatever ideals you had about me in the beginning even more. Not an optimist, which is what I was trying to say earlier, and I skipped over when I was saying I get very fa la la, fairy pixie energy, but then that's not really the vibe, or not all of it. I should say, like, on the surface I give that, and that's fine, but in terms of my ideals and my belief system, I am not a pessimist by any means. I wouldn't be alive if I was. But I can't necessarily say I'm an optimist. I feel like my actions show that I'm an optimist, but if you were to read me off rip, it's giving a realist. That's what I am, a realist. What is in front of us is what's in front of us. And yes, we could all be having a completely different experience of this world, and I could look at the sky and see blue, and you could actually be seeing the color green, but because you call it blue, it's now your version of blue, and blah, blah, blah. We can go on and on and on. But the fact remains, we are all in agreement that the sky is motherfucking blue, bitch. Okay? And so when it comes to... What was I talking about? Damn, I really be going off. I'm really giving myself the space and the freedom to just go on tangents here. I love it for me. This really is something that I needed. Diva. Being that I'm a realist, I accept things for what they are in front of me. And so I want to make it clear that when I am talking about certain things, I'm not saying something with pretense. I'm not looking to be soothed about who I am or what I believe, or I don't give a fuck about none of that. Because if you're here, it's for either the fact that you feel like you can connect to me, or you want to learn something, or you want a different perspective, but it's not necessarily to come here and caught me up. I'm fucking irrelevant, okay? I'm a dot on this planet. Like, whatever. Just want to make that clear, because I feel like I'm literally the most gorgeous person on the planet. It's actually unhealthy, and the amount of self-esteem I have should be studied, okay? Not okay. But I live, and so I don't care about being desirable, is what I mean to say. I just care about pointing it out so that other people can learn more about themselves and accept themselves more in a world that we have no control over. Another thing about me, I ain't never give a fuck about controlling nothing other than my own actions, decisions, etc. And that seems to clash oh so much with the world that we live in that wants us to be worker robots. And has proved to be one of the biggest challenges that I've ever had to deal with. It may be the biggest, because it shows up in so many different ways. But as far as desirability, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the constructs that we live in. And in terms of gender norms, yup, we're dipping into that conversation. Men are supposed to be masculine, women are supposed to be feminine. Anything besides that is obviously not received well. Has it been changing? Yes. Is it getting better? Sure. But look at the administration. People show their ass through action. I had to drop 2 of my good friends, straight men. Should have known. That was already the red flag. Shout out to you, Dochi. Had to drop them because they voted for Donald Trump and his administration. And another thing about me, she's never gagged. Okay? You ain't never gonna see me sweat. It's always giving, because I could have seen this from a mile away. Or I simply accept that I cannot control things and people, and I accept things as they are. And with them, I can't change the fact that you voted for them. Sure, I feel sad that I'm losing these friendships, a little disappointed that I didn't telegraph that earlier so that I could maybe avoid even getting in a deeper friendship with them, whatever. But ultimately, the only thing I can control in the moment is, do I want to stay in this friendship or not? And obviously not. And the reason I'm saying all that and going on about the friendship breakup with these 2 is because it was speaking to the idea that I just referenced of dealing with what's in front of me by accepting what reality is and accepting that so much of what is around me is evil people and their evil decisions. People show their ass through actions. You voted for an administration that wants to wants to unalive, because I don't know what I could get away with on the internet, on the interwebs these days. But they want to eradicate people like myself from the earth. You are putting them in the position of power to do that. Clearly you don't actually love me. Love is an action, babe. It's a verb. It's not a noun or an adjective or a descriptor, whatever. All that to say, how does that connect to sliding doors and looking backwards and etc., high achievement and all of that and desirability? Because all of these things were playing in my subconscious and I haven't tackled them. And so every time I looked backwards, I was looking backwards through, instead of rose-colored glasses, blood-covered glasses, you know? It was murky because I wasn't understanding, or I wasn't appreciating all of the chips that were stacked up against me in the moments that I made the decisions that I did. And another key piece, actually, was definitely the Catholic indoctrination from when I was younger. I'm being so dramatic about that. I did go to Catholic school, but only for 5th to 8th grade, and it was not giving like super churchy book down. It was actually just the idea that there is a higher power, this idea that there is a benevolent God beyond us. That was playing in my subconscious heavily, and I was leaning on it, but it was really hurting me. And it wasn't until recently that I stopped believing in all that, and it was because I realized it was hurting me instead of helping me. Love the religious girlies. As long as it's helping instead of hurting, keep going. But the second that you start to hurt other people or hurt yourself, now come on now. So the cult of religion also played into it, because when difficult moments would come, of course I would say what we all say. Everything happens for a reason. God knows what he's doing. Except everything doesn't happen for a reason, necessarily. Even in a framework where there is a benevolent God beyond this plane, clearly there's another power beyond that God that allows for so much evil to happen on this planet. And so, even within that framework, there could be things that this benevolent God wants for us that is being held from us, and not just because of ourselves. So that's another thing about the religious indoctrination. It's your fault. You need to pray harder, you need to think harder, you need to hope harder, you need to have faith harder. And that just wasn't working for me. And as time went on, I peeled those layers and I shed that skin. And now when I look back and I think about all of the sliding doors of my life, I think I at least have a handle on what my quality of life, my definition of quality of life is, which is, first and foremost, basic necessities. Do I have a roof over my head and food to eat? Truly. That. And then maybe even a layer before that. Because she had, an anxiety attack that turned into a panic disorder, that turned into a paranoia, that turned into a suicidal depression when she was a teen. Learned a lot. Another episode, though. Not right now. And so from a very young age, I understood wellness and mental health, spiritual health, emotional health, and needing that stability. And so, even with all of that context, now, I understand that I need multiple things at once. So the basic necessities, and then my health, starting from those points that I spoke about before, not physically only, and then beyond that, peace, I want to be able to be bored. Bring back boredom. Bring back boredom. It gives you creativity, But I want to be able to be bored. That's a privilege. I want to be able to sit in silence. I want to be able to zone out watching a show or playing a video game. And so that's where I get into trouble because I start to fight with myself about if that's what you want, then you're exactly where you should be, where you want it to be. But that's the thing, that's not all I want. Your girl has the high achievement at the core. It's literally a part of my soul. I mean, everything starts when you're a kid, but does it? Because my parents did the opposite of instill that in me. My mom made it a point, probably because she's a high achiever, to tell me and to try to instill in me, life is not a race. It is a marathon. She said it in other words herself so many times that it doesn't matter how you get to the end result, it just matters that you get there, whatever that is for you. And I will never forget when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I just wrote about this to myself and tried unpacking it a little bit with one of my close friends who has the same sort of issues that I do. Shout out to you, Catherine. I love you. Mwah. I was in 3rd or 4th grade. I was a straight A student, duh. And I had a 97, I remember. Don't remember what class it was. If it was math or English. I want to say it was English because I was always my favorite subject. And it'll make sense when I finish why I think that played into it. But I dropped like 3 or 4 points to like 93 or 92. Excuse me, 94 or 93. And I started crying and my mom was super concerned. And my teacher was as well. They were so perplexed. And my mom was genuinely worried. It was the first time I saw her genuinely worry about me in my little life at the time. And she was like, Christopher, what's wrong? Why are you so upset? Like, it's okay. It's a great grade. You're doing amazing. And I literally could not compute what she was saying. Like, what? What are you talking about? I went down. Failure. And that perfectly encapsulates how my achievement complex could not have come from nurture. And so it was, in some way, shape, or form, my nature, but that's hard to understand too. How could you be wired for unrealistically high expectations of the magnitude that I have? I was literally trying to conquer the sports world as the first feminine gay man to do so that I could spite bigotry and systemic oppression. Like, that was written out in multiple notebooks, and that is just completely impossible. I'm not a fucking superhero. Like, what the hell? That's insane. And so I find it very interesting to think about and to try to unpack. And it's always connected to trying to look back and trying to understand why I made the decisions I did, and if I would have taken a better path making other decisions at the time. And of course not. Like, I love where I'm at. I love who I am. I love what my life is, for the most part. It's just, I'm also someone who is ambitious. I want more. But something that I wrote recently, darn, my phone is recording my other angle. I wrote, essentially, should I learn how to be okay with less? Or should I learn how to cope while I want more? And with that, divas, I leave you. Thanks for joining me here on Yap. Follow me, please, on Instagram, on TikTok. Well, TikTok is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be under the handle I'm about to share, but please follow me on Instagram, on TikTok. Most importantly, YouTube. Get on my YouTube, girl, at Christopher Valentine.
Transition.
Hopefully we can all unpack our own traumas and issues with past decision making soon. And by us, I mean the marginalized folk of the world. To put it in the best umbrella possible. Because we're the ones who are changing it, and we're the ones who are going to change it for the better, ultimately. So, I hope that we can work through our own shit so that while we're changing the world, we actually get to enjoy it. And enjoy the benefits of it. Reap the rewards of the labor that we're putting in. I love you guys. if no one else tells you. And I'm really excited to be doing this little 3-month summer podcast thing with you all 5 of you, my girls. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!
Good.